On today's final episode of the Retro Gamers podcast for 2025, Chris and Dave from Two Middle-Aged Guys Trying to Work It All Out join me in asking Santa to bring back some of our favorite dormant video game franchises. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Retro Gamers podcast, episode 426, the last episode of 2025. Anthony here, and as you can see, please welcome back Chris and Dave from Two Middle-Aged Guys Trying to Work It All Out. Guys, how are you doing? Let's go with Chris first.
I am doing great. Happy to be here. Happy to ring out the new year, or the old year, I guess, with you and to talk about merry festive Christmas Santa stuff.
Sounds good. I don't know about ringing it out. I think we need to just like stomp it into a million pieces and then just like
we'll just blow it up to smithereens.
Oh, I like that better.
Let's
Dave,
leave 2025 behind.
Yes, we do need to leave it behind. But how are you, Dave?
I am doing great. I'm in the holiday spirit. Looking forward
I can tell with your festive outfit.
Yes, you're very festive. This is my my most festive black sweater.
Very nice.
Festive cat hair on it. Because that's when you have cats, you're constantly covered in cat hair.
And it's a hazard.
You would know that.
Very well.
So, yeah, really looking forward to celebrate the most merriest of seasons with you all.
All right. Well, and I'm happy that you guys are both here celebrating the holiday episode with me. It's been an incredible year for the podcast. We did a bit of a switch with Larry leaving and our format changing, and you guys have co-hosted a few times this year, for which I'm very, very grateful. So thank you both. And and we've had a lot of different guests on the show. We had some new people, some fun interviews. It's been a very interesting year for the podcast. And
Larry was dragging you down. I mean, you got rid of that.
Is that what it was?
And you've no, I'm kidding. You've rocketed off.
That's right. So when Larry the Deadweight listens to this episode, I'll just give him your address.
He knows I'm joking. He has my address, and I hope he knows I'm joking.
He knows you're joking. All right, so we have a great topic for today's final episode of the year.
Anthony,
yeah.
I would be honored if you would give me just a moment. I'd like to read for you and for Chris and for your audience a selection from my favorite Christmas book.
Okay, go for it.
Let me just really brief. This is from the 1990 Sears Holiday Wish Book.
Okay,
and I thought I would share this piece with you all. Save $10 on the TurboGrafx 16 video game system when you buy any accessory or game on these two pages. TurboGrafx 16 entertainment system brought to you by NEC Home Electronics. This hot 16-bit video game system brings true-to-life arcade action right into your home. I hope that meant as much to you as it did to me. It warms your heart.
Every year as a family, we read that.
We
section.
gather around and we hear the story of TurboGrafx 16.
I think that's a beautiful story, and and such a great time-honored tradition to spend with your family. For lessons on how to go broke during the holidays.
Yes.
Even with a $10 off coupon.
Yeah, I had to. Yeah, it brings $10 off. You buy an accessory, like the thing that lets you plug the second controller in. That kind of accessory.
Yes. Otherwise, you're just playing your TurboGrafx 16 alone.
Yeah, and if you keep reading that, it's such a long. I mean, there's so many words. It's actually funny looking at those old catalogs. Like they're using a lot of words here. No, not bullet points. They're paragraphs. It goes into Keith Courage. It's really trying hard to sell you the system. And it's like, if you just turn back a page, there's the Sega Genesis. That's probably what you want. I'm surprised it didn't with that. Listen, that's what you really want, kids.
It's true. I have a Sears holiday book from 1993 that I sometimes pull out, which I did not pull out for this year. I need to get another like annual copy from the 80s to add to my collection.
I've got the Sears one. I want a Montgomery Ward's one so bad because
Oh,
I'm just sure
nice.
the pictures. I remember those looking at those. My parents had a Montgomery Ward's credit card, so we were all looking through that, and yeah, it is fun to look back at those. But I
Mm.
just like, man, the passion that they were writing about the TurboGrafx 16. I wish that we all felt that passion for the TurboGrafx 16 today. Uh,
Well, somebody at NEC had to write that up and send it to Sears and say, this is what you put in your catalog or else. Yeah, it's that type of thing. You
or else
know,
in 30 years you'll go out of business.
that's right. Because there's nobody at Sears who sat down and cared that much to be like, okay, I need to sell this TurboGrafx for this company.
Yeah, I remember looking through the. Not to belabor this, but I remember looking through those, and it's not in this one. But if you go back to like '88 and '87,
Mhm.
the Atari 7800 is in there, and I
Oh
remember as
yeah.
a kid looking at those and thinking, the Nintendo's pretty cool, but I think that 7800 that looks like the winner. I was obviously very wrong, but it is funny to think about it in that moment. If you didn't know better, you could make a big mistake, or your parents could, because they definitely didn't know better.
Oh, yeah, you absolutely could. I mean, but at the time, you didn't know that was a mistake. That
Oh
was the
no,
thing. If that was a
yeah,
new system, it's like, oh, maybe this is better than the Nintendo. And then you find out later, oh, everybody owns a Nintendo except my kid.
yes,
Oh,
and it
well,
had Galaga, which that had to capture a lot of parents' imaginations when they were buying things. It did enough, obviously, to sell more than a couple dozen systems, but it had to have connected with some of the of that generation who were like, I remember seeing that in the arcade in
yeah.
1980, right, or whatever. So I don't know, but
Well, it connected well enough that Atari is not only still in business, but thriving. And they just recently released a 7800 plus
yes.
onto the marketplace. So the 7800 is still alive in 2025.
You could relive that bad decision this very Christmas day.
And on that note,
Yes.
let's get into our topic for the episode. So, I this was actually Dave. This was a suggestion from you that I thought was very, very fitting for a topic to end the year. Instead of doing usual type of like recaps and things like that, you decided that we should spend this festive time of year talking about dead video game franchises and what we would like to see come back. So I can't think of anything happier than talking about dead franchises.
Pleading with Santa, Santa, have your
Yes.
elves code a new entry in this series. And I know he's offshoring a lot to the South Pole these days, but
Hmm.
even still, if you could just give us some of these, Santa, uh, just even
Yeah.
if it's digital only, I'll download it and play it. I
Yeah, I believe, Dave, the first one that you wanted to bring back to life was a sequel to E.T. on the 2600.
Yes, E.T. 2, E.T.'s Revenge.
E.T.
Yeah, yes.
E.T.'s.
Based on an original story by Quentin Tarantino. It's very violent. Uh,
I love
but
it. And somehow E.T. looks like Samuel L. Jackson now,
yes, yes, played by Samuel L. Jackson.
played by Samuel Jackson.
Uh, it's rated M.
And we won't say what that M stands for because
Yes, yeah.
this is a
I'm
PG show. So, all right. So yeah, so we're going to talk about franchises. We're going to talk about retro game franchises that we believe ended prematurely that we would love for Santa, and when we say Santa, we mean the IP holders, to bring them back to current times and give us a new entry in those franchises. So gentlemen, I thought what we can do is we'll just do it like a turn-based RPG, and we'll go round the table and until we run out of options. I know I believe we talked about choosing three each. I may have cheated and picked a couple of more
I
I
have
because
may have
that's
runners
what
too.
up.
you have
So
what?
yeah,
You have more.
we have
Okay.
yeah runners up.
All right, so we'll just go around the table until we run out of these franchises that we want to see brought back. So, Chris, let's start with you. What is the first one you have on your list?
Sure, absolutely. Now, I was told in prep for this episode that the rule was it could not have had a new game for 20 years, which is a pretty high bar. And the
Yes.
first game I thought of it turned into a joke because it does not in fact meet that criteria.
I
But
have one that doesn't either, so don't worry about it.
my
It was
first
hard.
my first joke one is the Elder Scrolls, because it's been 14 flipping years since Skyrim was released, and that's the first time. I'm not counting like the 16 other releases that it's had
Hmm.
over its lifetime. 14 years since we've had a mainline Elder Scrolls game, and that kind of blows my mind. Like, I cannot believe it's been that long, and I'm not counting Elder Scrolls Online because I don't play online games. I want Elder Scrolls 6, and I know it's coming. So again, it doesn't quite fit the criteria, but can you believe it's been 14 years
That's insane.
since
Well, you know
Skyrim?
what? I mean, it'll probably come out around the same time GTA 6 comes out,
Yeah,
which is
it
never.
probably will. Yeah.
So, because I think GTA 5 is right there along with it. That
Yeah.
came out, I think, around the same time. Um, I didn't realize it's been 14 years. That's insane.
I know. It makes me
Wow.
feel so old.
But let me ask
But
let me ask you something when it comes to Skyrim.
mhm.
Since that came out though, did they offer any DLC to like expand the game itself as like
There
just a way to keep it
There,
alive?
there are a couple, but they were all released kind of in the window of the original Skyrim. And then
Okay.
since then, they've done like
Just
Skyrim remastered, and then they're like the Switch port of Skyrim was a big deal because it was like you can take Skyrim with you, and like that kind of thing.
and then you see how it plays on the Switch and you're like, never mind.
Yeah, it's like forget it. But then the Steam Deck comes along, and it's like, hey, I can play Skyrim anywhere I want now.
That's right.
And even just like a few weeks ago, my wife was like, hey, load Skyrim up on your Steam Deck. I want to play through it again. And I'm like, for the 16th time, or whatever it was.
Nice.
And I'm like, I really want to be able to play Elder Scrolls 6.
Hmm.
Or I really want them to remake Morrowind. That would make me happy too.
Ah,
Either of
Morrowind.
those
Yes.
things. Yeah. So please, Santa, I know they're working on it, so it's not quite in the spirit of this episode, but golly, can we get the Elder Scrolls 6? And hey, every Bethesda game is buggy. You don't even have to test the thing. Just release it. Let me play it.
No,
That's
we
all
don't
I
test
want.
games. They test games while people play them now.
Yeah,
That's what it is.
we're Q&A
We're
for
Q and
the
A.
industry.
They fired all their QA people. We when we email them the complaints, they look up the bugs and fix them. That's basically how it works now.
Yep.
But I was just gonna say, is there a timetable for 6? Like, did they give any type of estimate, or are they just like, yes, we're doing it, and they've been quiet?
No, yes, we're doing it. We've been quiet, and then when they
Ooh.
actually announced it officially in the announcement, they're like, "Do not expect this anytime soon."
Oh, so it's like Game of Thrones, like it's George
Yes.
R. R.
Yeah.
Martin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We are in that type of universe right now with Elder Scrolls. 14 years. I
Wow.
can't believe that. And it's so darn close to meeting the requirement that was set forth for this episode. I just had to shout that one out
All
for
right.
my first one.
Well,
Close enough.
I think it's a fair shout out, and I think it's okay if we had to cheat a little because, like I said, when I was doing my research, I was like, "Ooh," I go, "This is tougher than I thought." So totally get that. And you know what? 14 years is a long time for for a franchise to not have a game. So you know,
I would have said half that. I'm actually, and
oh,
I
you're
know you're right, but it is
mhm.
kind of hard to believe. I think it's just because it's become so ever present that you
Yeah.
think, you think
Yeah,
it's current. How do they make money? I mean, is it rife
re-release
with
it.
Yeah.
microtransactions or
No,
how are they
there's no
generating?
microtransaction in Elder Scrolls. They
I
just
didn't think
keep
so.
releasing the game.
Yeah,
And sometimes not even with any like souped up graphics or anything like that. It's just
no,
like, hey, you remember Skyrim? And I'm like, yes, I do. I'll buy it
I've got
again.
the Atari
yeah.
7800
Yeah,
copy.
with
They
Skyrim. Yeah,
there you
exactly.
go. Doesn't ET show up in that one?
Yes, yes. You fall in a pit, your neck gets long, maybe you get out, maybe you don't.
Maybe, yeah. That's like the hidden DLC in Skyrim. It's the ET mode. Well, all right. I think Skyrim. Okay, Elder Scrolls. I think we can allow that on the list. We can allow anything we want on the list. It's our rules, right? So I don't have a judge here or anything watching. But Dave, what's the first one up on your list that you cheated?
Well, I'll go with the cheat, right? And this was not intentional. First of all, this researching for this episode was so much fun, and then I had a sense of excitement, like I don't know, like opening a gift,
Mm,
wanting to hear what you guys brought to the table because this was fun, right? Turning over some rocks, thinking about some older systems. So older games. So the first one, and this is the only one that truly uh, came close of my main three to not fitting in or breaking the rules rather.
Okay.
Um, Chris, you know this. My disrespect, almost a loathing for the Sega Dreamcast.
Hmm. Yeah.
Which,
What?
I'm probably being unfair, but
Yes.
should have been better.
Get
And
off my show.
yes, I will squirt myself out. It should have been better, but there are a couple of games I do love for the Dreamcast,
Hmm.
and one of those is a little game called Jet Grind Radio, or maybe Jet
Mm.
Set Radio. I know it switched names somehow, but I loved that game then. It played it even even with that controller, it played so silky smooth. It was
Mhm.
beautiful and fun and engaging. And so you got Jet Grind Radio, which became Jet Set Radio, and then you got the next entry in the system in the series, which was on the Xbox, which was Jet Set Radio Future,
Mhm.
and then it was quiet. Now they did in 2023. This is where the sort of cheating comes in. They did announce a new entry in the series in 2023, but there hasn't really been any updates on it.
Mhm.
And they were talking about potentially a 2025 release date, which is not happening. They haven't even shown footage or anything other than, the leaked information is going to be open world, which is fine. I don't think everything has to be open world, but I think that would actually work with that game. Um, but whether or not one is coming, it should be. And I just think it was even on the Dreamcast was a pleasure to play. And I love the original, and I love the future, the next entry in the series. The closest that we've gotten to a sequel is what many refer to as a spiritual sequel, which is Bomb Rush Cyberpunk for the Switch, and I think it's on PC too,
Okay.
which looks just like Jet Set Radio, but they extracted the fun. They surgically extracted the fun from it. Terrible game, but it is beautiful to look at. You look at
Hmm.
stills, and you're like, oh, that's Jet Set Radio. It's on inline skates, the whole thing. But
Nice.
it's not. But man, I think that series, and I'm a sucker for cell shades. So, but
Yeah.
I don't understand. Sega had something potentially there. They should have, gone beyond the last Xbox entry and given us some more. I think it aged well, and I think it could also, be modern, but still have that same I don't know, simple, fun feeling, effortless feeling that the original did. I think it'd be great.
Yeah, I mean, I remember playing Jet Grind Radio on the absolutely fantastic, amazing Sega Dreamcast that was way ahead of its time and unfortunately did not have enough third-party support to survive. We'll have a discussion about that on another episode, Dave,
Yes.
where I explain to you why you're wrong, and you just accept it. But I remember playing Jet Grind Radio, and I absolutely loved it. Like you said, like I'm also a sucker for that cell shade kind of look. It's just really different. It's really fun. That game just, it gave me a Tony Hawk vibe to it, but just with that
Yes.
different look to it, and it just made it cooler. So like where while Tony Hawk was kind of just repeating the same thing over and over, and I was starting to lose interest in that, Jet Grind Radio came out on the Dreamcast, and I absolutely loved it because I did have a copy of that. It was super fun. So yeah, I think that's a good series. I would love to see that come back.
I don't,
Effortless is how I would describe it. Like you
eh,
just pick it up and there's
Yeah.
something intuitive about it, right? You don't have to memorize a bunch of combos, but it's also not so simple that it gets boring or repetitive. I don't know. It was special. It had a great formula. Sega did, really well. The other, I think on the Dreamcast would be Crazy Taxi, right? And
Oh yeah.
there's some similarities, right? Just pick up and play, fun. Um, but yeah,
Well,
I do miss it.
I was gonna say the Simpsons kind of took that concept and went
Oh,
went wild with it
that's a
with
great game. Road
Road
Rage,
Rage.
right? Or Hit
Road
and Run.
Rage.
Yeah, I get them mixed up.
Um,
Yeah.
one of those two.
Yeah, one is the GTA clone and the other is the Crazy
Yes.
Taxi clone. And yeah,
I,
I think
I
it
can
is Road
never
Rage.
I can never remember either
Yeah.
which one is which, but all right. All right. So Jet Grind Radio or Jet Set Radio, whichever you prefer. Um that's a good one to put on the list. Okay. The first one I have that's a little bit of a cheat. Only because the last game that came out for this series was in 2009. So not terrible, so about 16 years ago. And I didn't even realize, like, when this one, like, when I was doing my research and it popped in my head, I said, yeah, I go, you know what? I go, this franchise is notorious for having a very long gap between games. And I'm talking about the Punch Out series.
Oh,
Yeah.
We got the superb Mike Tyson's Punch Out on the NES, and then when they lost the license, they released just Punch Out without him in it,
Hmm.
right?
Mr. Dreams Punch
And
Out.
you had Mr. Dreams Punch Out, and then we got the amazing Super Punch Out on the Super Nintendo. And then everything went silent for a very long time. And then out of nowhere, here comes the Nintendo Wii. And in 2009, we get Punch Out on the Wii. And obviously, that game was made for the Wii console because you use your controllers and you can just punch in your room, get really out of control, punch a sibling as they walk by, and, you just blame the game for it. It's awesome. But then after the Wii, nothing, crickets. And that series to me, especially for Nintendo, like Nintendo is notorious for feeding their franchises. And that one to me is a no-brainer, especially for the Switch or now the Switch 2, where the Switch controllers are essentially just like Wii controllers. So
Hmm.
you can get away with doing that format again of having people punching in the air, or if they don't want to, obviously use the controls for it. But I loved Mike Tyson's Punch Out. It was probably one of the first games I ever beat. And beating Mike Tyson was like a badge of honor in school. Like if you beat Mike Tyson, it's like you were like the cool kid in school. I beat Mike Tyson. I was never the cool kid in school, but despite that. Um, but I just remember like though that series in and of itself, the characters were always cool. Obviously, the challenge of figuring out how to defeat each character is in there. Little Mac is, obviously synonymous with it. His character has shown up in the Smash Brothers series. So Nintendo knows this is around. It's not like they've forgotten it, but they've yet to go back to it since the Wii. And I'm like, what's going on, Nintendo? I mean, do I have to go over there and like kick you? Uh,
You should punch them
I
because
should
it's
punch
punch
them.
out. Yeah.
I'll do the super punch that he
Yes,
does.
that would be awesome. But
That'd be perfect.
you brought up one really crucial thing, I think, to this discussion, which is Smash Brothers. And usually when there's a character in Smash Brothers, it is something that Nintendo is feeds and like, elaborates on and stuff like that. But you have Little Mac, which nothing, right? And then you have Ness from Earthbound, which again,
Mhm.
I mean, Nintendo kind of teases and drips things, but they're still holding on to the Mother 3 translation that they're never going to release. And
Yep.
we all know they're never going to release it, but still every once in a while they're like, maybe. So there is some weird like dichotomy with there. Like another one that almost made my list, but the stupid like 99 Switch revision that they did was F-Zero, which is another
Yes.
Nintendo franchise that they've just abandoned. But Punch Out, kudos. That is an excellent point.
So
And,
good.
and they even kind of make like Punch Out like games. Like I'm thinking of Arms for the
Arms.
Switch,
Yep.
which
Hmm.
is kind of Punch Outy, and it's like why try to develop a new IP? Why not just give us another Punch Out game?
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
I was thinking of that when you're saying that. I'm like, oh, Arms could have been Punch Out, right? I mean, granted, without the long robot
Yeah.
arms, but you could have taken the basic mechanics of that and created another game in a classic series. I wonder if it's become so associated with Mike Tyson that they're afraid that I don't know that they might not be able to break that. I don't know. Which
No, I don't think so.
it
They
means
stepped
they don't
out.
know who Mike Tyson is.
Yeah.
I don't think
It
so.
it even predates Mike Tyson. I mean, Punch Out was originally an
It was
arcade
an
title.
It was an
arcade game.
arcade
Yep.
title, yeah,
Yeah.
before him. And I was going to say Super Punch Out did really well for them on the Super Nintendo. So
Yeah.
I don't think Mike Tyson is the issue at all. I think it's just Nintendo not dipping back into this franchise.
Yeah.
So
Such
get
a
on
oh,
it,
I
Nintendo.
yeah, and I will say this one thing is a lot of these games older games you can go back with emulation and enjoy. Punch Out is one of those that you can't because the timing is so critical. You can't emulate. You'll get destroyed when you get to the upper level fighters. So
True.
it is one that that they should modernize and bring back. Yeah, I
Yeah.
so
Well,
obvious.
yeah, well, I do believe Super Punch-Out is available on the Switch Online, so you can play it if you have a Switch Online membership.
Do you know if
I,
the original Punch-Out is?
I'm not sure if the original one is there.
Me either. Yeah,
Yeah,
interesting.
I would just imagine that whether even with perfect emulation, the Bluetooth Switch controllers, they got a built-in lag. I gotta believe that
yeah.
would be tough.
Well, and that's why I still have my physical copies of those games sitting in my game closet, just waiting to be played. All right. And with that, Chris, let's get to your second one.
All right, my second one, and I'm very curious if either of you have played any of these games. Dave, I'm almost positive you have not. But my next second franchise that I would love to see revived is Breath of Fire.
Ooh, okay.
Any recollection there? Recognition? No. Okay,
I,
so
I I've never played Breath of Fire. I know of
yeah.
Breath of Fire. So,
So I dearly love Breath of Fire. It started on the Super Nintendo, it jumped to the PlayStation 1, and then the last game was on PS2. They did do a mobile game only in Japan in 2016. I'm saying that does not count for the purposes of our conversation because I don't have the chance to play
we
it. But
can't play it.
anyway,
Mhm.
yeah, exactly. But it's a turn-based RPG. It was kind of Capcom's answer to Final Fantasy on the Super Nintendo. And I'm not gonna say that it's like, oh, it's better than Final Fantasy. It's not, but it is an outstanding RPG series, and it did a lot of really cool things. Like there were four mainline games, again spanning SNES to PS1, and there was continuity. So, like in the game, there's a race of people that have wings, and in the first game they can fly, but part of the narrative is they're losing the ability. So, in the second game, they still have wings, but they can't fly. In the third game, they only have nubs, and in the fourth game, it's just legend.
Oh
And
wow.
yeah, and like I really dig stuff like that. I think that that is super cool to be able to kind of like draw that line through a series of games. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with it or any of your listeners, but at some point, go look up screenshots of Breath of Fire 4 because it is possibly the most gorgeous pixel art that has ever been done, ever. I mean, it is a stunning, stunning game. And these games absolutely deserve more attention. They deserve to be, we should be playing Breath of Fire 16 coming out on the PS5. That should be a thing. Like this was a really good series that Capcom had. It was excellent. If you're going to play it now, especially if you're going to play the SNES ones, get a fan translated ROM hack for it because the SNES translations for Breath of Fire 1 and Breath of Fire 2 are so bad that you probably cannot finish the game because
Oh wow.
it makes no sense, which I think hurt this a series in the US quite a bit, right?
Mm,
Because people would play it, it would develop this reputation of being obtuse and unapproachable, and I don't think that helped it out. I have actually started playing the original English translations and can testify that they are bizarre. Like there's moments where it's like, go do this thing, and I'm like, those words never existed in this game before. I don't know what town that is. What are you talking about? And so if you're gonna play the originals, you got to play it with a guide. But
okay.
thank goodness for fan translations, which I think are incredible, and those people are doing God's work. But you can get fan translations of 1 and 2 of Breath of Fire and SNES. Definitely the way to go, the way to do it. They did GBA ports of Breath of Fire 1 and Breath of Fire 2 back in the day.
Hmm.
I mean, this was a franchise that Capcom put power behind for a while, and then it just fizzled out. And it fizzled out with the mainline Breath of Fire 4 on the PS1, which is just stunningly good.
Mm.
And then there was a spin-off on PS2 that was a very different perspective. Like instead of being a turn-based RPG, they tried to turn it into like a third-person kind of action RPG type thing,
Okay.
which was not nearly as successful. And if they were going to bring it back that way, then forget it. I don't want them to bring it back. But I'd love to see a new, like a Breath of Fire 5 true sequel in the US to carry on this amazing story.
All right. That's a series I never ran into, and I probably the English translations probably would have driven me nuts. It's like, why are you sending me to Cincinnati? Cincinnati
Yeah, exactly.
shouldn't be in this game. Um, but yeah, one of them actually I think just recently had a birthday. I remember putting together a retro birthday. It might have been Breath of Fire 2 that came out somewhere around this time, uh, 30 some odd years ago. But all right, I had a feeling you were gonna have the heavy RPG presence on the show because I know those are your bread and butter.
Yep, I'm here for you.
No, and I love it because RPGs were always like a tall order for me. I love RPGs, but I never got around to playing many of them because they always took up so much time. Um, but Breath of Fire, good choice, good choice. Dave,
Yeah. The only Breath of Fire I'm familiar with is the Matthew McConaughey Christian Bale movie where they're fighting dragons.
that would be
That's
Reign
Rain,
of Fire.
Rain. Oh, well, then I'm not. Well,
which is a
oh,
better movie than it has any right to be.
it
I will
is.
add.
I
It
will
is.
not say that.
Well, and now I'm embarrassed that I didn't remember the name.
Well, that's okay. We're here to call you out on it.
Anytime it's just Matthew McConaughey, I'm locked in his gaze. He's hypnotized me, and all right. This one, I know you guys are familiar with this game, uh, because how many games where your main weapon is a yo-yo?
Ooh,
Oh yeah.
StarTropics
Star
is such
Tropics.
a solid 8-bit game. It follows the overworld dungeon pattern that Nintendo had used in other places, and it was used in games like, well, obviously Link's Zelda 2, and even a little bit Master Blaster,
Blaster
but
Master.
Blaster Master or Master Blaster, who's
If you want to play
the
the game
villain.
backwards.
Yes, I was playing it in reverse. He's also the villain from Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome.
There you
Uh,
go.
but I loved this game. I was intrigued by it. It was mysterious enough that I felt like there was a bigger, broader story that it could have told. And then you got one sequel, which was Zoda's Revenge, which was another 8-bit game. I never played because it came out so late in the Nintendo life cycle. It was actually
Hmm.
the second to last game that was published by Nintendo for the NES.
Oh wow.
The last one being Wario's Woods.
Hmm.
Another game that people are everybody knows who Wario is, but not a lot of people have played that game.
Yeah. Well,
So Zoda's
last game,
Revenge.
as I say, the last game's released in the U.S.
Released in the US,
Yeah.
published by Nintendo, that Nintendo developed
Yes. Got it.
themselves, right?
And the only
So,
reason why I say that is because then the Famicom life cycle didn't end until like 2001.
oh goodness, I knew it went on for a
Yeah.
while. I didn't know it went on that
Yeah,
long.
it went on until 2001. Well after how many other Nintendo systems came out. It was crazy.
Yeah,
But
wow.
anyway, I'm sorry. Continue.
No, I loved this game. It had some really tricky platforming, but it also had puzzles and mysteries, and it was totally you could sink hours and hours into it, and like Zelda, the Adventures of Link, it just captured you. And I felt like there was more story to be told, and it could absolutely use a new continuation and addition in the franchise. Something. I don't know. I feel like Nintendo's got another potential great franchise there, and I don't. I would love to see it get another shot.
It was such a huge game too.
It
I
was.
mean, it was massive. It was everywhere. I think they did like 10 issues of Nintendo Power dedicated specifically to Star Tropics.
There were several of them. Yeah.
Yeah, and it sold well. And so I was always surprised that we did not get a sequel a lot sooner than we did. And I'm in the same boat you were, Dave. I thought Star Tropics was phenomenal, kept waiting for the sequel, and then when it finally hit, I'd already moved on to Sega Genesis. So, it's something to this day I've never gone back and experienced Soda's Revenge, and maybe I should.
Yeah. I
It
think
sounds
you
like it sounds like you guys should both go back and play Zoda's Revenge.
should. I don't think it has an online co-op mode.
Oh,
So
unfortunately. I will go out on a different tactic here. Not saying that I don't think that they should do this. Like You guys were saying it was everywhere. I never heard of StarTropics until like I was an adult.
Really?
Like I don't know how I missed it if it was that present. But yeah, no, I had no knowledge of that game whatsoever as a kid
Wow.
when it
That's
came
It
out.
was in
interesting.
every video store. I
Yeah,
felt
it
like they
was.
had
Maybe it was like a
100
Midwest
copies.
thing.
Yeah,
That's why
maybe it's just,
Nintendo won't do anything with it.
That's what it was. That's really what it was. They were like, "Oh, don't give those people a sequel."
it's big
Um,
in Missouri, but everywhere else, I don't know.
no, but yeah, no, I don't know. I don't know how I managed to miss it. Obviously, I know of it. It's also a game I've never played. I've never gone back and said, "Hey, let me try Star Tropics."
Oh,
But you guys are kind of piquing my interest where I need to find myself a copy now,
yeah,
So
you
I,
should give it a moment. Just if nothing else, just it will remind you of those early Zelda games, which
which
were
I love.
obviously a
yeah,
lot of fun, right?
And I
So,
do love yo-yos.
yeah, well, yeah, everybody does.
I will say StarTropics has a flaw, which is the difficulty level is artificially elevated because they do what I think is the biggest sin in video game design. If you die, no matter what, you go back to the start of the level.
Uh,
I know. And so even as a kid, when I was playing Star Tropics and I played it and I loved it and I finished it, I had to play it with a Game Genie because I could not overcome that problem with it.
yeah.
So be warned going in if you're going to try to go back and play it.
And the
Well, that's
platforming is
fair.
so tough, you will die.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm not worried about that because I have a Polymega, so
you'll be
uh,
fine.
I'll be
Save state
fine.
your way through it, and
yeah.
yeah, you'll enjoy it.
That's exactly what I'll do. The same way I'm doing it on Tomb Raider 2 on my PS5 right now. I save every time I do like a jump in that game because I'm like I'm gonna fall and die on the next one.
Yep.
So, um, but all right, so Star Tropics is a good one to put on the list. Then the second one that I have on mine, I couldn't complete a list without having something from the horror genre on there. So naturally, I had to go that route. And this will be no surprise to people who watch or listen to this show regularly because I talk about this series all the time. But I would love to see a sequel in the Clock Tower series.
Yeah.
And the Clock Tower series to me was the definitive horror game on console because it played out like a movie. It was point and click. I understand like a lot of people's complaints with it was it moved very slowly because of the whole point and click aspect of it, but I thought it was such a great original concept that was able to transition the idea of a horror movie into a video game that played out like a movie, and not only that, but give you the opportunity to experience 10 or 12 different endings depending on the choices you make in the game. So to have a game like that you could have like replayability with was also to me such a great idea where it's like, oh, it's like every time I play the game, if I just make different choices, I'm going to go down a completely different path and we'll see what happens at the end. Um, and the series had 4 games. It had Clock Tower on the Super Famicom. The original Clock Tower was on the Super Famicom, was never released in the US until last year when Limited Run Games released a translation of it, which I did buy a copy of and I have not played it yet. But they released a translation of it, so I have that ready to go. And then we had Clock Tower 2, The Struggle Within on PlayStation 1. And then we jumped over to PlayStation 2 for Clock Tower 3, where they took away the point and click concept of it and turned it into a true third person game where you play as a main character. I think her name was Alyssa, and you controlled her through the game. But they still kept the core idea of that horror concept, the terror concept, like the character in Clock Tower 3, which I do own, and I played through it when it first came out. Um, she does not have the ability to pick up weapons in the game. And she has a fright meter. She can be scared to death from these ghosts and these things coming after her, or these monsters coming after her. And then you had to figure out innovative ways to defeat these monsters because you could not hold a weapon. You had to use your environment and things like that to kind of survive. And again, another novel concept because that's what you see happen in horror movies. You always see like the either the main character or the supporting characters, they always seem to manage to lose a weapon or get stuck in a place and they're defenseless, so they have to figure out something smart. So to me, like they even transitioning over to that third person, they still kept that core concept of Clock Tower. And then after that game in 2002, it was never seen again. And it's a series I would love to see a new chapter in because first off, the villain in the game, Scissor Man, who runs around with like a giant set of hedge clippers, that's an absolutely terrifying image for a monster, for a villain, that I would love to see it. And the other thing too is that it had some similar aspects to the Scream franchise, the Scream movie franchise, because the character, depending on the ending you got, was always somebody different because they were in like a mask and a trench coat. So it was always like it was a slasher, is a slasher slash horror movie mixed in with like a whodunit type of thing. And it was just a great combination, something I always love going back and playing, and something I would love to see a new chapter in.
Remind me
Wow.
who developed Clock Tower.
That was Human.
Okay. All right. I couldn't remember if because I always felt like, and this may have just been my perception of how I lived it, but I always felt like Silent Hill usurped it. And like there was this
Mhm.
like idea of, well, we can't do another clock tower because Silent Hill is eating our lunch, as opposed to this idea that, the world can handle more than one horror game franchise at a time.
Yep.
I don't know if that's true or if that's just my perception, but I've actually never played a clock tower game. I should. I
You
know
really
I need
should.
to I need to solve that one, especially since they translated the first one. I think that would be really cool to go back and experience.
Yeah,
I have not played it either.
If Limited Run still has copies of that, I would highly recommend grabbing a copy and playing that for sure. They do obviously the new version plays on like you can get a PS5 or a Switch version. I did get the PS5 version, so definitely looking forward to playing that when I have time.
I remember that game being marketed or that series, I should say, marketed very heavily in the PS1 era. Like you'd open
Mhm.
a Game Pro or an EGM or a comic book, and you would see an ad for that game. So and I never wasn't in my genre. I never played it, but um, I did not realize there was four in the series. And I did not realize how that it didn't continue. I guess I just assumed that there was something because I do remember it being for a couple of years there, just every saturated in the print, media particularly. So you
Yeah.
brought back a lot of memories. That very scary scissor guy from the ads.
Yeah, Scissor Man, he was awesome. And the way he would like jump out of places, like there were really good jump scares in that game where he'd pop out from behind things, he would drop from the ceiling like through a window. Like they really did a good job with playing up the slasher like scare tactics and tropes that you see in movies. Um so much so that there was actually I remember an ad probably in 99 or 2000 where they were developing a game for the Scream movie franchise and they released screenshots of it and as soon as I saw the screenshots I looked at it and I said wait I go are they using the Clock Tower engine? It looks like they're using the Clock Tower engine, which would be perfect for the Scream franchise because you
Yeah.
get your multiple endings and your different killers and stuff like that. And I thought that that was the direction they were going in, but then the game got canned. So
They could have did it like a crossover, Chris, and Snipper Clippers could have had Scissor Man show up. It might have
Yeah,
been a little
yeah.
difficult for
Well,
the Switch to launch title, but
there's your spiritual sequel to
there it is. Snipper
Tower.
Clippers.
snipper clippers. I like it. I like it. Let's go for it. But yeah, so Clock Tower is the second one on my list.
Good one. Good one.
Chris, swinging it back to you.
Yes. So this is an obscure game. I will be surprised if you guys know it.
I am not surprised you have an obscure one on your list at
Yeah, I
all.
know. That's me. What can I say? A little game called No One Lives Forever. Does
I
anybody?
have heard, yes, I've heard of that game.
Okay. All right.
I've never played it, but I've
Okay.
heard of it.
So came out in 2000, had a sequel in 2002, a spinoff in 2003. It is a first-person shooter, primarily on PC. It did get a PlayStation 2 port, but it was a 1960s spy first-person shooter. And it had a female protagonist who was just, very cheeky and very smart, not like in an Austin Powers way. It was not like goofy and silly. It was a serious story, just with a very heavy 1960s vibe with like those colors and that kind of setting and that, thing. It was a brilliant first person shooter. And this was in, again, the 2000. And this is when you had all the Doom clones, right? Like everybody was making a first person shooter to the point where it was getting a little tiresome. And this for me as a gamer was really a shot in the arm because it was like, oh, this is something different in a first person shooter. It was a cool setting, cool characters, cool story. It was a little bit silly, a little bit tongue in cheek, but not again like not like as far as Austin Powers would take the same kind of setting and the same kind of idea. Brilliant, brilliant game. Loved it, played it tons. It was a critical darling. I don't think it did a lot of business. Um, but it's one of those games that it's always on those lists of what happened to it, right? And
Hmm.
people, there's an audience for this. It's kind of a cult underground game. And there are a lot of people, including Limited Run, who have tried to revive it. But this is one of those games where the IP is just completely in limbo. Like nobody
Oh,
knows who owns this game. So even though there are people with money that's like, hey, we want to bring this back, they can't do it because nobody is willing to figure out where the rights are. And it's just such a shame. And there should be something in our copyright code where after a certain number of years, if nobody claims it, like it's just
public
available. Like,
domain.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Let's just open it up because it's a great game. And even if they didn't do a modern take on it, I'd love to be able to just buy and play the original. I still have the CD-ROMs of the PC games,
Oh, wow.
but they are so hard to get running on modern computers.
Hmm.
I'd love for this just to be like on Steam. I can download it, I can load it up, done and done. But I don't know that I'm ever going to see that in my lifetime.
It sounds like the video game version of the Friday the 13th franchise, where nobody knows where the rights are and
Yes.
everybody's just fighting over it, and then nothing's happening.
Yeah, exactly.
Although that actually got settled a couple of years ago. But
I have
uh,
never heard of that game. I want to check it out though because it sounds like a great setting and concept. Period pieces for
mhm.
games or first person shooters could be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was a very cool game.
Yeah, the setting and concept as you described it sounded the most interesting to me. The minute you said first person shooter, I'm out. So
I
I've
understand.
well, I get headaches from first person shooters, so they just don't work for me. I'm literally the only person who owned an N64 and did not have GoldenEye. So but no one lives forever. Okay. Well, I think that's a good one to add to the list. Like I said, I'm with Dave too. Like I like period piece games too. It's cool, and I feel like we don't get enough of them.
Yeah, agreed.
We definitely don't. I think it's a really like an untapped well that companies should jump on for sure.
Well, and you kind of got one with Claire Obscura, which
Yes.
was huge, and you could argue maybe that's more fantasy than a period piece, but it's definitely borrowing from that kind of Renaissance French period,
Yep.
and people gravitated towards it. I mean, they loved it. So I agree, it is an untapped well. I'm going to start a video game company and make the first Jane Austen video game.
All right. If you do that and need a writer, let me know.
I
I will
will.
I will happily jump in. All right, Dave, on to you.
All right. So, Chris, in our last episode that we recorded, I brought this game up, and I'm going to keep pushing for it. I think I can sell this as the next big thing that we need to bring back the huge revolutionary franchise Clockwork Knight from the Sega Saturn. This is a 2D side scroller game. It's beautiful. There was Clockwork Knight
Yep.
1 and Clockwork Knight 2. And there's like, toys in a bedroom type setting. You think Toy Story, but
Yeah.
without any characters that are recognizable, starring a knight that is got the twisted winder on the back that you can wind up. It's a beautiful, fluid, fun, simple game. The first one and the second one are almost, the second one could just have been more levels for the first one. I mean, it's
Mhm.
follows the pattern, no real innovations. But I think with all of the night games, your Hollow Knights, your Shovel Knights, they could do a Clockwork Knight, and I think it was a
Yeah.
Sega published game. It was a 2D game in the era of the burgeoning 3D era, so it didn't really fit. But it was a lot of fun, and it was dead simple. Yeah, I could see it being like a 2.99 download on the Switch. It probably kind of, being looked at as shovelware, but I think you could do something with it. It's not recognizable. Sega's got other franchises that I know that are a lot more fun, but I always liked this game, and never understood why I was the only one who felt like really enjoyed it. And most people don't even realize there is a part two.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to find, and it's obscure. The first one's pretty common for the Saturn, but I don't know. I don't know if you guys have any love for this, but I do.
Well, the Clockwork Knight just came across my purview recently because it had a retro birthday and I posted a retro birthday for it. And it brought back memories of it. I never had a Saturn. I have a Saturn now. I never had a Saturn back then, so I never played Clockwork Knight, but I remember the ads for it. I remember seeing it in the video game magazines, and I thought it looked like a cool game. It looked like a fun game. The second one I think might have come out around the time like everybody was walking away from the Saturn
Yes.
and over to the PlayStation, which is probably why it's a very rare game to find because they just didn't sell that many of them. But yeah, it always looked like a cool, colorful platformer. The Toy Story concept, I think if people gravitated or made a connection to that, maybe it would have done better if Sega had transferred it to like Sony at the time. I bet it would have done well. I think it was just a victim of the console that it was on more than anything else.
I would agree
Yeah.
with that. Dave, you referred to it as a simple game. To me, that is its downfall. It's too simple.
Too
It's
simple.
very simple.
Yeah, it is. It's gorgeous, but it's like, move, jump, and slash your little key sword thing, and that's it. So for me, especially as a player who had a Saturn during its lifetime, I was looking for, the next big revolution in video gaming. And when I played Clockwork Knight, I was like, oh, this
Not
is
it.
no, this is
Yeah.
not it. I played more intense games on the NES, so I'm moving on.
You know,
Yeah. I
the way you explain it, it makes me wonder if it was probably slated for the Sega Genesis with how simple it was, and they
Mm.
moved it over to the Saturn so that they had something for the Saturn library.
I don't know. Maybe.
it could be, right. Other than the fact that it was way prettier than any Genesis game, it did have that sort of play style.
Yeah.
I think it would be fun. Like, an 8-year-old daughter. She likes those simple games. She's learning to play. Right? I think a little kid would actually have a lot of fun with that. That said, right, if you don't have an IP that anyone recognizes, or you have versions of toys, but you don't have the potato head or whatever, it's probably not as attractive when you could just have a Toy Story game where Woody or Buzz are doing those same things.
Mm.
And or like Paw Patrol, like she plays a Paw Patrol game occasionally. It's very simple 2D side scroller. If she didn't recognize those dogs, though, she might not be as interested in playing it. So I get it. I just thought it was so pretty, and I think that's what it was like. Man, this is pretty. I wish that beauty could have been continued. It was one of the last of the great 2D games that had just beautiful color palette popped of that era.
Well, if they would have licensed it and turned Clockwork Knight into Woody or Buzz from
Yeah.
Toy Story,
Yeah,
you
absolutely.
would have had a winner.
Or Clockwork Tower Knight. Hear me out,
Oh,
guys.
yes.
Oh, Scissor Man,
Scissor
right?
Man.
Give him a pair of hedge trimmers. Done. I love it. Let's do that for like bringing those two franchises back together.
Yes.
I like that. Clock Tower Knight. Love it. All right. Moving on to my third one. I was actually expecting you, Chris, to bring this one up, and you haven't yet. And I don't know if it's hiding somewhere on your list. But to this day, I do not understand why this franchise does not have 10 or 15 or 20 games in it, because it was probably considered the first one was considered, or is largely considered, as one of the best RPGs of all time. And I could not agree more. Where is the Chrono Trigger franchise?
Yeah.
We got Chrono Trigger, we
Yeah.
got Chrono Cross in 1999, and then nothing. And when you ask everybody, what are the top RPGs of all time? Chrono Trigger almost always comes up one or two. Not even top 10. It's always in the top 5. It's almost always one of the top two. So for a franchise that was that well received and that wildly successful, and you're talking about a very deep, complex story. Again, and with an RPG that has multiple endings. Again, something like kind of unheard of because an RPG is I don't want to say slog because that's kind of a negative word, but that takes such a long journey to get to. And knowing that you can go back through this RPG like 10 times to get different endings, it's just unheard of. But that's how much story they put into that game. And it was absolutely, I'm sorry, one of the very few games I would consider flawless. Like, I could not find anything negative to say about that game when I played through it. I loved every single second of it. And Chrono Cross, I will admit, I did not get to because I had fallen into the Final Fantasy web at the time. So Chrono Cross kind of didn't register at the time. I was too busy trying to shuck my way through Final Fantasy VIII, I think, at the time. But then after that, crickets. And I always come back to this franchise and I'm waiting. I am waiting with bated breath for Square to just say, we're bringing back Chrono Trigger with another game. I'm like, man,
Yeah, there is a rumor of a full remake of it that's supposedly happening.
I did hear that. Yes.
I don't know. A, I don't know if that's a good idea. B, I don't know if we'll ever see it. But I think it's one of those rare things where you had three really influential creators come together to create Chrono Trigger, right? Like you had the Dragon Ball guy, you had the Dragon Quest guy, and then you had the Final Fantasy guy come together and make a game. And I just don't think that Square ever could get those three to sit at the table together again. And even Chrono Cross, it's almost more of like a sister sequel to Chrono Trigger. I mean, it's a very different type of game. But you're absolutely right. I am ashamed that I did not have Chrono Trigger on my list of franchises to revive. It's almost one of those things, like you've probably heard me talk before about my reverence for the film Blade Runner. And
Yes.
when they were doing a sequel to Blade Runner, I did not see it in theaters. Like I was like, I don't want to watch it because I'm too scared it's going to screw things up. I watched it eventually. It's pretty good. I'm okay
Yeah.
with it. And I kind of feel the same way about Chrono Trigger. It's like, do I want them to touch it? It's so perfect. So I don't know. I'm of two minds about that. If
Yeah.
they did it and did it right, it would be amazing. But we'll see.
So, as a
Yeah.
non-RPG player, first of all, I'm even familiar with it, right? And I know it. I think everybody who's was gaming, even if they didn't play those type of games, is familiar with it. If you asked me if they were continuing, I actually genuinely thought that they had continued under some other name, like the branding
Mm.
had changed, you know? So I really thought it had continued. I thought it was one of those where, like, well, it kind of moved over into this and had a new name or a new publisher. I would not have thought that it discontinued because it was such a big deal.
Yeah.
Um, wow,
Yeah.
man, I'm
Yeah.
learning things left and right here.
It was a huge deal. And Chris, just to answer what you said about like you worry about if they made another one, it's not like I wouldn't be concerned if they made another one because in a franchise, sometimes you do have a hit or a miss. Like sometimes things will miss a little bit. And I'm not worried about that because if you're not touching the original lore of Chrono Trigger, if you're not like sullying what they did in Chrono Trigger, I'm perfectly fine with putting out a sequel that may be inferior. That's not my concern at all. But just the fact that they didn't
Yeah.
they didn't even try to continue. And a remastered version sounds great, but if they're gonna go like the Final Fantasy VII version, where it's like where every 5 years we're gonna like give you a couple
Yeah.
of chapters of
Uh-huh.
Chrono Trigger, I'm like, I don't want that, man. I want like my full experience. That game needs to be played all the way through.
Yeah. Well, it
Um,
does have the advantage of being a lot shorter than a Final Fantasy.
True.
I mean, it's still a big game, right? And they don't shortchange you at all for
No.
for the cost of entry, but it's not a Final Fantasy VII level thing. So I would not anticipate them to do that with a Chrono Trigger remake. And to your point that anything they do in the future does not affect the past. You are 100% right. I am wrong. That does not mean that my brain is going to go along with that. So, I don't know. That's my hang up there with the holding on to the past a bit too forcefully.
Nope. But I totally understand that. I totally understand that. There's a bit of a purism with Chrono Trigger. There really
Yeah.
is. But because they never really gave us much else outside of Chrono Cross. So, or they never gave us anything after Chrono Cross. But with that, that not only completes this episode of the podcast, that completes 2025 on the Retro Gamers podcast. And you guys, I can't thank you enough for joining me to close out the year. Obviously, also a thank you for the other episodes you did for me this year. And to everybody out there, a special thank you for sticking with the Retro Gamers podcast as we've transitioned to a bit of a new format. I hope you guys have been enjoying the episodes that we've been putting out this year, and also all of the content we've been adding to social media. And I hope you guys stick around to 2026 and enjoy your holidays. We got, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, Happy Boxing Day, a very happy New Year. Guys, for your site, where can they find you?
Well, you can go to 2middleagedguys.com. That is 2middleagedguys, the numeral 2, middleagedguys.com. From that website, you can get to our RSS feeds, all the podcast platforms that you may or may not use. You can get to our Facebook. You can email us if you feel like we forgot franchises, or if there were some franchises that you're like, no, absolutely, I do not want those to come back. Thank you very much. Feel free to let us know. But we do a pop culture based show. Anthony's been on it a few times, and we kind of cross-pollinate a lot that way. So looking forward to 2026, Anthony. Happy holidays to you and your family, and appreciate this discussion and this time to appear.
And if you're the developer of Clockwork Knight and you want to reach out to me about how we can flesh out the lore and maybe find a way to use more than 2 buttons in the development of the game, yeah, let's get together.
Yep, and you can promote him to Clockwork General.
Yes. Clockwork Master, I believe.
Yeah.
You go from
I'm
Knight
sorry.
to Master.
I'm sorry, Master. Clockwork Master.
Padawan.
My bad. You're just going to wind up playing a game where you're fixing clocks. But Chris and Dave, thank you guys so much for being on the show. Happy holidays to you and your families as well. And to everybody out there, I hope you have a happy and healthy holiday season, happy and healthy new year. And we will catch you next year on the Retro Gamers Podcast.